In honor of Halloween, the best holiday of the year, I'm going to tell you a spooky, hairy ghost story. You ready? It's from 1965, Japanese horror movie, an anthology called Kwaidan, where the first section is called The Black Hair. And it features, to me, the best part about hair, which is the strangeness of it being so beautiful and desirable when it's on the head, but disgusting and creepy and scary when it's off the head. This is the detangler, where I hear about stories about hair and I detangle those. I follow them to the root and I bring you all the juicy details. Pull up a chair, grab yourself some popcorn, and let's watch Kwaidan. The Black Hair tells the story of a samurai who is down on his luck, and he's so tired of his life of poverty that he leaves his lovely, loving, patient, beautiful wife for a life of wealth. And he marries a new woman who's much wealthier, but he's not happy. And so the whole time he spends dreaming of his first wife. And eventually, years later, he goes back home to her. She is like time has not passed. She's just as beautiful as ever, and she accepts him immediately, forgives him of everything, and it's just too good to be true. And this is a ghost story, so you guessed it, he sleeps with a ghost, and the next morning he wakes up and she's a skeleton with hair. And then the hair starts chasing him around. It has a life of its own, and he's terrified, and that's pretty much the end of the story. It's a cool ghost story, right? So the stories in Kwaidan go way back. A long time ago, once upon a time. These are folk stories that everyone grows up knowing. So Kwaidan is the first color movie by Kobayashi, and it was his first movie intended for a Western audience. The guy who wrote these stories, Lafcadio Hearn, is an interesting person himself. He was born to a Greek mother and an Irish father, but they both abandoned him at a very early age. So then he was raised by his aunt, and then she ended up abandoning him too. So then he moved to America. He lived in Cincinnati for a while, and as a white man, he married a black woman, which was quite unusual back around 1875 when this was happening. They got divorced. He moved to New Orleans for another 10 or so years, wrote about Creole culture, and then eventually moved to Japan, where he lived out the rest of his life. He married a woman there, converted to Buddhism. They had a bunch of babies. He obviously learned Japanese, and he gathered up all this Japanese folklore and captured it for a Western audience. Kwaidan just means ghost stories. When Lafcadio Hearn named these stories Kwaidan with a W, that's because the W, Kwaidan, is an archaic transliteration of ghost stories. So for a Western audience, he's already kind of hinting that these are old, these are long, long ago. And same with the movie, when it shows the ink at the beginning in that beautiful drifting way, it's showing that these are written down from time immemorial. The Black Hair isn't the most famous section of the anthology, but it has elements that repeat throughout Japanese movies that you may be familiar with if you've seen things like The Ring or The Grudge. You can see at the beginning that our samurai is down on his luck because his hair isn't very neat. It's not in the samurai hairdo. And then later on, you can see he's wearing the samurai hairdo, all neatly whacked so that it can hold on the eboshi headdress. These are styles that only the samurai and aristocracy are allowed to wear. Now, his samurai hairdo is not the chonmagi that we would expect to see from the Edo period and beyond. This is an earlier style that has his hairline at the natural place. So many of the styles in this movie harken back to that once upon a time. The long, straight black hair, that's called Taregami, and it's a style that evokes this kind of ancient beauty, fairy tale woman. We can see immediately that his new wife is much wealthier than his old wife. She has eyebrows way up in the middle of her forehead. This is called Hikimayu, and it was a sign of aristocracy and wealth and status. Also, we can see that her teeth are blackened. This is called Ohaguro, and was also a sign of wealth and prestige. She's also wearing these sumptuous fabrics, the kind that his first wife was spending all of her time at the spinning wheel and the loom creating. She can afford them. But despite all this wealth, the samurai is always dreaming of his first wife, even despite her boring white teeth and her poverty eyebrows. When he wakes up in the morning with his wife who is a corpse, a Japanese person would probably think about kuzosu, which is a tradition of painting that depicts the 9 stages of decomposition of a woman's body. There's some necrophilia happening here. They are lovely paintings, but it's quite disgusting. When he wakes up the next morning and he realizes that he's been sleeping next to a corpse with hair, the hair starts taking a mind of its own, and it starts chasing him all around. The sound does crazy things. It goes completely silent, and then the sounds that you think you should hear take a beat, and then finally you hear them. The sound designer was a guy named Toru Takemitsu, and he was interested in the work of John Cage, which deals with a lot of chants when it comes to sound. The sound is meant to be disturbing and unsettling, and it goes along with the camera work where it's swaying from side to side, making you feel like you're on a seasick rocking ship. Everything is out of whack, and he's just running from this hair. But the hair is the last thing left of his ex-wife. It's all that remains of her. And he said he wanted to be with her forever. So I don't think that this hair is motivated by vengeance, like an onryo, which is a vengeful spirit, often from a wronged woman. I mean, it is, but I think that this hair is motivated by love and longing. Hair is a measure of time, and this hair has been without him for a long time. It wants to be with him. It loves him. Thank you again for watching The Detangler. I really appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any ideas for other hair stories that I should dive into, or if you just have anything you want to say to me.